Some doors should never be opened. But you're already inside. Welcome to the gate of horror. Step into the darkness and let the gate unlock the secrets within. Our story begins now. I had never called 911 before we moved into that house. Now, I don't think I'll ever stop hearing the dial tone in my sleep. We moved in during March of 2024, a quiet suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. It was a small cul-de-sac with 6 houses, trimmed lawns, and dogs barking behind white fences. It looked safe, predictable, boring even. The house was built in 2008, 2 floors, finished basement, neutral paint. Nothing about it felt strange, except the price. It was lower than anything else in the neighborhood, much lower. When I asked the realtor why, she smiled, the kind of smile people use when they're hiding a secret they aren't legally required to tell. "Motivated seller," she said. That was all. My wife, Lauren, fell in love with the kitchen island. Our daughter, Emma, claimed the upstairs loft before we even signed the paperwork. I convinced myself we had found a rare, lucky break. The first week passed quietly. Just the smell of fresh paint and the hollow sound houses make before furniture settles into them. Then, on the 8th night, at exactly 2:14 a.m., the phone rang. Not our cell phones, the house phone, the landline. The problem was, we didn't have one. We never plugged one in. I sat up immediately, heart racing. The ringing echoed down the hallway. It sounded old, mechanical, like the sharp metallic ring of a corded phone from the early 2000s. I stepped into the hallway, and it stopped. Silence. I stood there, staring at the blank wall where a phone jack had been patched over during renovations. Nothing was connected. No wires, no device, just drywall. 3 nights later, at exactly 2:14 a.m., it rang again. This time it sounded closer, not distant, not echoing. It was inside the house. Lauren sat up straight, her eyes wide. "You hear that too, right?" I nodded. We walked downstairs together, every step slow and agonizing. The ringing grew louder as we approached the kitchen pantry. Then, the second we reached the bottom stair, it stopped. Complete silence. Lauren whispered, "Jake, this house doesn't even have a phone line." The following afternoon, our neighbor Denise came over. She was friendly, the kind of person who knows everyone's business. While we stood in the driveway, she casually asked, "Did they tell you about the calls?" My stomach tightened. "What calls?" She hesitated, looking at the house. "The police used to come here a lot. 911 hang-ups, middle of the night. Dispatch would get a call from this address. No one speaking, just breathing." "What happened?" Lauren asked, her voice trembling. "They said it was probably the previous owner's little boy playing with a phone," Denise said quietly. "But they moved out fast. Very fast." That night I opened the breaker panel. I checked every outlet. Nothing. But at 2:14 a.m., the ringing started again, louder, persistent. It didn't stop after 3 rings. It kept going, and going, and going. I followed the sound to the pantry wall. The drywall was vibrating, faintly, with each ring. Lauren stood behind me, clutching my arm. I pressed my ear against the cold wall. The ringing suddenly cut off. Click. Then, a woman's voice, calm, professional. 911, what is your emergency?" There was no speaker, no hidden phone, just the wall. The dispatcher repeated herself. "Hello? 9, 911, what is your emergency? Then, breathing. Slow, heavy, male, very close to the microphone. The line went dead. Lauren started crying, but I was frozen. I realized something that made my blood run cold. The call wasn't coming into our house. It was coming from it. The next morning, I called the non-emergency police line. When I gave them our address, the silence on the other end lasted far too long. "Yes, sir," the dispatcher finally said, her voice dropping an octave. "There is a significant history of calls from that location." "How many?" I asked. 47, over a 2-year period. "Were they all at the same time?" "Almost all of them," she replied. "Between 2 a.m. and 2:20 a.m. 2:14. I asked to speak to someone from the original investigation. An hour later, a man named Detective Harris called me back. He sounded like a man who hadn't slept in years. "I was hoping no one would move back into that place," he said. "What happened here, Detective?" "There were repeated 911 hang-ups," Harris explained. "The family insisted they weren't calling. They had one child, a 7-year-old boy." My heart skipped a beat. Emma was 7. "What happened to him?" "He disappeared," Harris said flatly. "Vanished. We searched the house top to bottom. We found scratch marks behind the drywall in the pantry and the basement, but no boy." My eyes drifted slowly to the pantry door. "The last 911 call lasted 6 minutes," Harris continued. "The boy whispered the entire time. He said his dad had sealed the walls. He said he could hear them moving upstairs. He said if he kept calling, someone would eventually hear him." Lauren began to shake beside me. "What ended the call?" I whispered. "A loud bang," Harris said quietly. "Then static." That night, I couldn't help myself. I took a hammer and a crowbar to the pantry wall. Lauren begged me to stop, but I had to know. I tore away the drywall. Behind it was insulation, disturbed, matted down, and deeper inside, a narrow cavity, small, child-sized. At exactly 2:14 a.m., there was no ringing. The dispatcher's voice started immediately, echoing from the open hole in the wall. 911, what is your emergency?" And this time, the whisper was clear. "I'm still here." Something shifted inside the dark cavity. The pink insulation moved. Slow, like something was adjusting its weight deeper within the frame of the house. Lauren screamed. I aimed my flashlight into the darkness. For a split second, I saw something pale. Skin. Then, a small, grayish hand pressed flat against the interior wooden beam. It didn't look like a living hand. I stumbled backward, tripping over the debris. The dispatcher's voice grew distorted, metallic, deep. "Officers are on the way." Then a different whisper, one that didn't come from the wall, but from the air around us. "He brought someone new." All the lights in the house shut off at once. Darkness swallowed everything. Heavy footsteps sounded from upstairs, slow, deliberate. They weren't the light footsteps of a child. They were heavy, like someone wearing boots caked in lead. They stopped at the top of the basement stairs. A man's voice spoke from the darkness, a voice that sounded like grinding stones. "You shouldn't have answered." The pantry wall burst inward with a deafening crack. Drywall shattered into 1,000 white shards. Dust filled the air, choking me. And from inside, nothing emerged. No body, no child, only a severed phone cord, swinging gently from a rusted nail, ringing. The police arrived within minutes, but when they walked in, the wall was intact. No damage, no cavity, no phone cord. Everything I had torn apart with the hammer was back in its place, perfectly sealed, until the squad car radio crackled. "We're receiving an open 911 line from that address," the dispatcher's voice hissed through the static. The officers froze. Through the radio, speaker came breathing. Then, whispering. "He's still inside." They searched the house. Every room, every closet. Nothing. Except Emma. She was standing in the middle of the upstairs hallway while holding an old beige phone handset. A cord hung from the bottom, trailing off into nothing. She was whispering into it. "Please hurry." The call lasted 6 minutes. Exactly. The next morning, under official supervision, the pantry wall was opened again. This time, they didn't find an empty cavity. They found bones, small ones. Forensics confirmed 2 sets, one belonging to the missing boy, the other, older. From before the house had even been built. The previous father was arrested. He confessed to sealing the wall once in a fit of rage, but he swore on his life that when he reopened it the next morning, the space was empty. He insisted something else had already been living there, something that needed a voice. We moved out that same day. The house was demolished in late 2025. I thought it was over. But last week, at exactly 2:14 a.m., Lauren's cell phone rang. Blocked number. She answered before I could stop her. A calm, professional voice spoke clearly through the speaker. 911. What is your emergency? And in the background, behind the dispatcher's voice, I could hear the faint rhythmic sound of someone scratching on the other side of our new bedroom wall.